Hi everyone. Oh my gosh, my mouth isn't moving. There we go. How are you all doing? No start screen today because I didn't feel like it. I just wanted to get right into it with you all. Today we're gonna be reading two stories that I know nothing about. One of them is called Happy Sun Daycare, and the other one is called Better Films. So we'll see how they are. Hopefully pretty good. If there's any time left after, I think we'll probably do a little bit of ASMR or something. Hi Yuki, it's good to see you. I haven't seen you in so long. Well, I'm still not seeing you, but you know what I mean. Hi Derpy, how are you doing? I hope both of you have had... We've been getting a lot of trolleys lately, haven't we? I feel like I've noticed them a lot at least. But I hope you've both been having wonderful Sundays. Hi Miss Beak! I was actually just about to talk about you. I was gonna say how you went home today, and so I'm all alone again. And if I'm like a little out of it, that might be why. But with you here, I can do anything. So I'm very happy to see you all here today. And I hope these stories can entertain you or put you to sleep or whatever it is you want them to do. Hydrate. Thank you, Miss Beak. We've just started and we're already hydrating. Oh my gosh, where's my water? Derpy, not to be outdone, you have to get a stretch in. It's probably good because I haven't done a lot of stretching today. So get some of that done before we sit down. Okay, Miss Beak, that hydrate might have been a good call. Thank you. Thank you, Yuki. I miss you too. I'm planning on being on VR chat sometime after dinner, so maybe I'll see you. Kind of depends on if Dram wants to get on too. Let me do your stretch real quick. All right, everyone, get into your positions. Stretch out those legs. Oh my gosh, I'm already hearing things crack. That is not a good sign. Only the one side though. The other side didn't crack. Oh, this side feels really good. But what have you all been up to today? Anything exciting? Or have you just been waiting for little old me to start streaming? Oh my gosh, I need to get better at balancing. Those ones are always way too tough for me. You keep waiting for me. Oh dear. You're making your world public. Ooh, nice, Yuki. We'll have to check it. Maybe if we have some time, we can check it out. We can check it out on stream before I get off. But we'll see. We'll see how things go. Let me get you back here. I want to hang out with you guys just a little longer before we start the stories. Let some people trickle in. Oh, you're also doing a beta test, Yuki? Very nice. Oh, asking people. That's a good idea. Because, I do notice, a lot of people have some Quest issues. Are you guys okay with this being here all the time? I'm kind of trying it out today. I don't know if it doing the hide is better or worse. I'm not going to be really doing anything in that general area. So I figure, what the heck, just leave it there. Derpy, nothing much today. Yesterday was at a family friend's house eating burgers and having a little Magic the Gathering tournament. Very nice. I love burgers. They're so delicious. But I've been getting a little more into Magic the Gathering recently because a while back my brother got me a Bloomborough deck. It's the group hug one, and I've had a lot of fun with it. I like all the cute little critters. And he got Dram playing as well with some merfolk. So both times that she's come to visit, we've played a few games of Magic, and it's fun. I wanna maybe get a new deck and maybe fine tune the Bloomborough deck a little more. What sort of deck do you like to use, Derpy? Also, do you guys like the fire noise? I decided not to do the music today like we kind of have been. And I decided, oh no, I decided instead to use a sound clip for some fire that I have on hand. Because it is Fireside Creepypasta after all. Hi Fern, it's good to see you. How are you doing? Derpy, you were doing a sealed tournament, which means you open booster packs and use what you get to make a small deck and play against each other. I've heard of that before. It sounds like a lot of fun, but I could see you getting like really unlucky and just not being able to do much of anything with those decks. Although the foundation packs that came out, you're supposed to be able to open like 20 of those or something and have like a solid deck. Something like that. I don't remember. But how did you do? Oh, you got garbage, but it was fun. That's good. As long as you had fun, that's all that matters. What kind of deck do you usually play, though? And do any of the rest of you play Magic? Oh, I gotta tell the story, Dram. If you're still there and listening, I hope you're okay with me telling it. So she was telling me that when she was going through airport security to leave, her Magic cards got flagged in the like scanner, and so they pulled them out to check, and she told them, yeah, they thought they were like business cards or something at first. And then Dram told them, no, they're Magic cards, and and the person asked her to do a magic trick. She had to be like, no, not that kind of magic. I thought that was pretty funny. I'm excited to do another ASMR stream on Wednesday. Last week was a lot of fun. Dram is a magician. Oh, you have a werewolf deck, Derpy? Very nice. My brother has a vampire deck that he likes quite a bit. He's got a lot of decks. um, he's got like a cat one, a vampire one, um, a spider one that I don't know if he's done with, but he's at least working on it. And he's got a pirate one. He knows much more about the game than I do. You love Magic too, Fern? What kind of deck do you play? She better learn real quick. We'll have to teach her a few card tricks just in case she's ever asked. Derpy, you got a case of a bunch of them. You were first taught how to play by your dad when you were 5. Wow, that's really young. My first experience was back in like 1999, 2000, somewhere in there. And I got a couple of starter. It was like a little starter pack that came with 2 decks. And so I learned how to play, and it was a very different game then than it is now. But I learned how to play, and I tried to play with, some friends and my brother at home and stuff like that. But overall, people weren't all that interested in playing with me, at least, the people who were around me. So, I kind of just gave up on playing, and I collected them for, I don't know, probably a couple years before I just kind of stopped and gave up on it. Now, fast forward to all these years later, and it's super popular with everyone, and I was kind of bitter about that, so I didn't really get into it. I'm like, no, nobody wanted to play when I was playing, and now everyone's playing. That's not fair. But yeah, I finally broke down, and I had to play with the little furry animals. Fern, you haven't played in a bit. You enjoy blue decks the most, though. Usually you played online because you don't have a lot of friends in person who play. Oh, I'm sorry, Fern. You got Dram to download it a long time ago for you. Well, I guess you prepared my brother. You prepared her for my brother. Derby, sounds like you and Munchkin. You love it, but no one in the family likes it. That's too bad. I thought Munchkin was really popular as well, so I'm surprised you didn't find anyone to play with you. But as far as like blue decks, Fern, that's what Dram has. I think she has like a blue green deck. Maybe it's very blue though. That's what her merfolk are. My brother always makes the blue player jokes though, where, ooh, a pink rubber ducky. Oh my gosh, it's legendary. Who got that? Nice, Derpy. Oh my gosh, 402 gold? That's so much. Good job. I really hope you catch yourself, Derpy. That'll make my day. What was I saying? Oh, but my brother makes the jokes about blue players not wanting anyone else to have any fun because they're like all about control and stuff. It makes sense why Dram likes the blue deck though, because it reminds me very much of Yu-Gi-Oh! Like in how the Yu-Gi-Oh! Style play is. Yippee a duck. Alright. Well, I've yammered on for about 15 minutes, so I think that's a good time for us to break away and start this story. Like I said before, though, I'm really excited to do more just chatting and ASMR streams with you guys. I like to just interact with you. So maybe we'll have some time after these stories and we can just chill and hang out a bit. But first, we are going to read Happy Sun Daycare. And this story is by Chelsea Adams 524. And I believe this one is the pasta of the month for November. Yes, it in fact is. Don't know anything about it. The tags are animals, disappearances, monsters, and places. So that sounds intriguing enough for me. I don't know about you guys. But let's push you back. We'll get ourselves nice and cozy. Oh, a skateboard. Nice. We'll get ourselves nice and cozy. And let's start our story. Happy Sun Daycare. Just a few miles outside of my town stood an old country house. It had been converted into a daycare where parents would drop off their kids in the morning and pick them up in the evening. However, said daycare had been out of business for a few years now. There was a sign posted in the front yard, just a few feet away from the house, that read, Happy Sun Daycare, with a cute-looking cartoony sun painted on it. Within the fenced-off backyard stood playground equipment that had fallen into disrepair and began to rust. A slide, a couple of swing sets, some monkey bars, and a merry-go-round were once covered by swarms of children as they ran and played in the outdoors. They had since become perches for the local birds and squirrels, and were swarmed by ants rather than children. I had decided to write a report on the Happy Sun Daycare for the news blog I worked for. For one thing, several people around today had gone to that daycare. I figured it might make for an interesting story to read about their experiences there and if it affected their later life in any way. The other reason wasn't quite so innocent. There had always been concerned parents who would fret over leaving their child in someone else's care. It was about that constant worry over how safe their sons and daughters were, especially with all the horror stories posted online about various daycare-related tragedies. For my report, I decided I would interview both employees and people who had gone to the daycare as children. I wanted to get as many different points of view as possible so that it wouldn't seem too terribly biased. Of course, I agreed to not use real names for the sake of their privacy. The first person I interviewed was a middle-aged woman who looked after the infants at the daycare. For the sake of her privacy, we'll just call her Margaret. What was it like working at the daycare? I asked her. She replied, Oh, it wasn't anything too spectacular. Just your typical day of working with children, or babies in my case. I see, I said, before I asked, Have you had any problems while working there? Margaret shook her head. With the babies? Of course not. They could be fussy, but they weren't any trouble at all. The children were another story. This piqued my interest. Were the children that attended Happy Sun Daycare too much for the employees to handle? Or could it be that there were cases of abuse going on that had been kept secret until now? I had to find out. Why might that be? I asked. Well, Margaret paused for a second, as though she was apprehensive about speaking to me. There were times when I heard muffled squealing. No, not squealing, screaming. At first, I thought it was just the children pretending to be scared, but the more I heard it, the more I realized those screams were real, that something was terrifying or possibly even hurting them. Did you see any children get hurt? Margaret nodded. Yes, most of them were just the usual scrapes and bruises you'd expect to find on a child who fell while playing or bumped his head trying to show off to his or her friends. Some of them, though, seemed off to me. Every so often, I would see a child walk past on the way to the nurse's office, and each time the child looked like he had been scratched or even bitten. Brayden, didn't know your fave cat girl was streaming today. Brayden, I post a schedule every Saturday. We need to get you some reminders, you little dork. It's good to see you. I hope you're having a wonderful day, and I hope you're ready to relax with some spooky stories. Your attention span is as bad as yours. Hey. I can't deny it, but don't say it. Alright, let's get back to the story. Get back in your seats. Children scratched or bitten? That would be cause for alarm for anyone. Perhaps some wild animal had decided to make its home near the daycare and curious children had gotten too close. Maybe a stray dog had wandered into the playground and some poor, unknowing kid wanted to pet it. Were there any animals in the area? I decided to ask. Stray dogs, raccoons, perhaps a possum nest? I doubt it. Pets weren't allowed at the daycare, and traps were set up at night to keep any wildlife away. There might have been a dog roaming around the area. Margaret shook her head. I pointed out, perhaps it was the dog that had bitten those children. Oh, I only heard the dog, she told me. I never actually seen it. All I had ever experienced was the occasional growl, snarl, or howl. Heidi, it's good to see you. Here, come over here. Let's give you a hug. I hope you've been having a wonderful day, and I hope you're ready for the stories we're reading about at daycare. There's no way that could go wrong, is there? So, Margaret had only heard what sounded like a dog. I couldn't rule out the possibility that perhaps she had mistaken some noise she'd heard for that of a dog. Maybe she'd heard some children that were only pretending to be dogs and mistook them for a real one. Maybe she'd heard the wind and thought it was a howl. If that were the case, it would explain the scratches and bites she'd seen on some of the children. It wasn't too out of the realm of possibility that a child could have simply scratched their arm on a branch or part of the fence by the accident. With what sounded like a dog's growl to her, Margaret could have reached the conclusion that the children were being attacked by some sort of stray canine. Still, I had to learn more about the daycare. With the possibility of a cover-up regarding a series of dog attacks, I figured the next person to interview would be a former attendee. Perhaps one of them would have childhood memories that could potentially shed some light on what Margaret had mentioned. After doing some background checks, I managed to find a young man who went to Happy Sun Daycare when he was around 5 or 6. Let's just call him Scott. I found Scott working at a local butcher's shop. I had to wait until his shift was over before I could start the interview. Luckily, it wasn't too long of a wait, and it gave me some time to consider what to ask him. Always happy about Story Sundays, I'm glad to hear it. They're one of my favorite. I always like streaming for you guys, but I always enjoy spooky, scary Story Sundays. Like, sometimes the stories end up falling a little flat, but it's nice to just relax on a Sunday evening and, listen to some spooky music or the fire ambience and, I don't know, just get cozy, relax a bit before everyone has to go back to work the next week. So I always enjoy seeing you guys on Sundays. True, simply a nice way to switch off and end the week. I'm glad you agree, Thee. There's a reason that this has been one of the most consistent streams I've had going since I started. Do you remember anything about Happy Sun Daycare? I asked. I know it was a long time ago, but perhaps you can recall something? Scott thought for a moment before replying. Not much. I was only 5, maybe 6 when I went. I can remember just doing what other kids do at that age. Playing, finger painting, watching cartoons. That kind of stuff. I nodded. Were you a good kid? For the most part, he admitted. Occasionally I'd get into some trouble. Nothing too serious, though. Just your typical kid fussiness. Not wanting to take naps, refusing to eat veggies, that sort of thing. I see, I replied as I wrote down what he had told me in a notepad. And was the daycare fair in how they disciplined you? Somewhat. All I ever got was a scolding and the occasional time out. They made you sit in a corner for a few minutes until they felt that you were ready to join the other kids. Though you were lucky if that was all you got, Scott pointed out. What Scott said baffled me a bit. They were lucky? How? I began to wonder if perhaps there had been some more severe punishments for the more unruly children that had attended the daycare. Could there have been some sort of more controversial form of discipline that the employees at Happy Sun Daycare used that they didn't want known to the public? I had to know. What exactly do you mean? For a brief moment, Scott gave a shudder. He seemed to have recalled something from his childhood that potentially frightened him and affected his adulthood as well. The kids who got into real trouble were sent into the gray door. Scott heaved a heavy sigh. I've never been in there myself. I knew a few kids that had, ones that would get into fights or throw huge tantrums. They'd end up going into that room. I don't know what happened to them in there, but they'd always come out shaking, with wide eyes. A few would break down crying, some would scream. One kid even threw up before passing out. I frowned slightly. What sort of horrors had been conducted in that room that had been nicknamed the Grey Door? I then remembered what Margaret had told me and decided to check for a connection with her story and Scott's. Did the children have any scratches or bites on them? I asked. And did you hear any strange noises? He nodded. A few kids had scratches on them after they left the gray door. But I thought they caught them before, and I just didn't notice them at first. They could have tripped or something. I did hear some heavy breathing. That could have just been some kid panting from running around. Hard to say for sure. First, Margaret said that she thought she heard a dog snarling, and now Scott was saying he had heard heavy breathing. With the strange noises, mysterious scratches on misbehaving children, and the mystery of the gray door room, I couldn't help but wonder what it was that Happy Sun Daycare had been hiding all these years. Excuse me while I get a drink of water. The grater, are they being shredded like cheese? No, not the grater, the gray door, like a door you open and close. The grater sounds so much worse though, Derpy. The scary door from Futurama? I don't think I know that off the top of my head, Brayden. Okay. Oh, Futurama's Twilight Zone parody? Okay. Alright, where were we? There we are. I thanked Scott for taking the time to speak to me before moving on to the next person to interview. With my curiosity regarding the gray door still heightened, I figured the next person to speak to should be one of the more troublemaking attendees of the daycare. I had to know more about what went on inside that room, and perhaps one of them could tell me. After doing more background checks, I managed to track down a young woman whom we'll refer to as Alice. She had been arrested 2 weeks ago for spraying graffiti and was charged with vandalism. Rather than spend time in jail, she agreed to do 4 months of community service. From what I read about her records, it seemed this wasn't the first time she had gotten into trouble with the law. "Were you always this much trouble?" I asked her. Alice shrugged. "Maybe." I wasn't sure how easy it would be to get the answers I wanted from her. She seemed like the type who would only cooperate if she'd get something out of it, like less time behind bars. "I need to know about Happy Sun Daycare," I asked her. "Do you remember anything about the gray door?" For a brief second, a hint of fear flashed in her eyes. Her face became pale as a few beads of sweat trickled down her forehead. "That was a long time ago," Alice pointed out. I replied, "Surely you must remember something. Records show you were 10 when you attended. Are you sure you can't recall anything?" Alice took a few deep breaths and began to regain her composure. If the mere mention of the gray door room was enough to put fear into her after all those years, I couldn't help but dread what horrors she could have experienced. Here was someone who had run-ins with the law, someone who had been arrested for various crimes, primarily theft, vandalism, and trespassing, and yet it was something from her childhood that caused the most fear of being punished. Why? "Okay, I'll tell you. But you gotta promise never to say that I told you anything, got it?" Alice sighed. I reassured her, "I won't reveal any names. That will be strictly confidential." "You see, I was playing outside in the playground, she began to explain. I remember wanting to play on the swings. Another kid claimed he had already gotten first dibs to play on them. Before I knew it, we were having a big argument. I lost control. Next thing I knew, he was on the ground crying. I must have pushed him when we were arguing. One of the teachers came up, grabbed me by the arm, and dragged me inside. She told me that I would be taken into what the other kids called the gray door room as punishment. What was inside that room? I asked in anticipation. Alice took another deep breath and let out a shudder and a sigh. The room was mostly empty. I remember the floor was nothing but dirt ground, and the only light was a dingy old bulb that barely lit anything up. The teacher just shoved me in and slammed the door shut. At first, I tried pounding on the door and screaming. I cried out for anyone to open it. It was so dark and cold, and I was so scared. And I heard something. Something was behind me. I turned around, and I remember screaming louder than I had ever screamed in my life. I frowned in concern. What did you see? It was a dog, or at least I think it was a dog. She choked back a few tears. I didn't get a good look at it since it was so dark. All I remember was that it was the biggest and ugliest dog I had ever seen. That thing had glowing yellow eyes, huge sharp teeth. It was covered in black shaggy fur. And before I knew it, it snarled and lunged at me. I ran around as fast as I could, screaming and begging for anyone to come and save me. It grabbed onto my skirt with its teeth and tried to pull me towards it. I tripped and fell, but I managed to kick it in the face a couple times to get it to let go. Then it lunged at me again. But luckily for me, the door finally opened, and one of the teachers pulled me out of the room and slammed the door shut before the dog could get me again. So, there was a dog after all. The stories were all starting to come together. Margaret's story about hearing screams and growling, Scott's story about horrified kids who had been sent to the gray door room, and now there was Alice's story about being sent to that room and attacked by some sort of large, vicious dog. Still, I had to know more. Why did they use a dog? Why did they cover it up? Perhaps the people working at Happy Sun Daycare were afraid that such a punishment would be too extreme to use on children. Or maybe they feared being sued by some animal rights group. Hi, Connor. It's good to see you. Let's do our posture check real quick. Back straight, shoulders back, and boobs out. We don't have to be afraid of this story. Compose yourselves and show the story you're not afraid of it. It's good to see you, Connor. I hope you enjoy the story. I thanked Alice for her time and set forth to find the next person to talk to. Maybe it would be another one of the employees. If I was lucky, I might be able to get one of them to reveal the truth about what was going on in the gray door room. Oh my gosh, my leg. Once again, I began searching through the records of anyone who ever worked at Happy Sun Daycare. Oh, you won't be here long, Connor? Well, I hope you enjoy it while you're here. And I hope whatever you need to get going on to, I hope it goes well. It took some time to find someone who was willing to talk to me. Most former employees I asked were either too busy or simply didn't want to give an interview. A few of them directed various profanities at me as well. I couldn't tell if they were angry that I had learned about what was going on all those years ago, or if they were afraid of what might happen if they ever revealed any more secrets to me. Still, I managed to track down at least one person who was willing to talk to me about his experiences working at Happy Sun Daycare. Mr. Smith, we'll call him. Worked as a janitor at the daycare back when it was still running. He had managed to get the job only because his aunt was in charge of the head offices there as well. However, Mr. Smith had moved to another town since the daycare closed years ago. This meant I couldn't interview him in person, so we sent each other emails instead. Mr. Smith explained that he had been dealing with some form of narcolepsy since he was a teenager, and a history of sleepwalking as well. Doctors couldn't figure out what was causing his condition, but they couldn't find any other adverse health effects linked to it either. This still made it difficult for him to find work, though he told me that he was grateful that his aunt managed to get him a job at Happy Sun Daycare. I had so many questions, and, well, I wasn't sure which one to ask first. After I got his first response, I wrote back to him. I wanted to know how he was able to hold his job despite his condition. Was he on medication for it? How did the other employees and the children treat him? A couple days passed before I got a response from him. I quickly opened the latest email response from Mr. Smith and began to read. He replied that his aunt would mix him a special herbal tea for him that would help keep his narcolepsy in check. She apparently strongly believed in herbal medicine and said that it was better than any standard medicine on the market. Mr. Smith wrote about how the tea was quite bitter and how he hated drinking it, but that he had to drink it if he wanted to keep his job. Though, on occasion, his aunt would run out of the leaves needed for the tea, and he'd end up falling asleep. This prompted another employee to go and make sure he didn't accidentally hurt himself or others. "Oh, Connor, you're moving? I hope it goes well. I hope you're moving to a place you're happy with. That can be kind of scary to move to a new place. Is it very far?" As for how others treated him, Mr. Smith explained in his letter that the children were generally very nice to him. Most of them were quite curious and would ask him a lot of questions while he worked. A few would act as a nuisance, but he didn't recall any of them being too much trouble. On the other hand, the other employees seemed to have a sense of uneasiness around him. He explained how he felt that they seemed extremely cautious around him. Also, he pointed out that his aunt always kept a close eye on him. He wasn't sure if this was due to his condition or for some other reason, though. Okay, so I don't know how it would connect, but does that kind of give you, like, werewolf vibes? Like, we got a dog, and then we have this kind of, like, blacking out Janet. I don't know. It doesn't seem like it connects quite right, but it feels like it's kind of leaning that way. I don't know. I guess we'll find out. Oh, Connor, it's 15 minutes from where you're at. That's great. That's not too bad at all. I hope it's a positive move then. That just caused more questions to form in my mind. Why were the other employees uneasy around him? Was it because he was the nephew of one of the higher-ups? Or was there another reason? And there was the matter of his aunt keeping a close eye on him. Maybe they were trying to keep the whole issue regarding the gray door room a secret from him. Perhaps they were afraid that he would find out about the dog and would contact the police. I had to know if he knew anything about the room. I quickly wrote a reply and asked if he knew anything about a large, empty room and children being attacked by some sort of dog. Another couple of days passed before I got another response from Mr. Smith. I opened the reply and began to read. He said that he didn't remember any kind of dog at the daycare. In fact, he pointed out that animals weren't allowed on the property, and that he would set traps to keep the squirrels and mice out. His aunt was very strict about no pets being allowed as well. Most likely it was due to any potential allergies the kids might have. Mr. Smith explained in his reply that perhaps the dog that Alice claimed had attacked her was just someone in a cheap-looking dog costume. That the room had perhaps been kept barely lit so that the children wouldn't realize it was a fake, and that the scratches and bites were just the result of them tripping and accidentally scratching themselves. To my surprise, he had been in the gray door room himself several times as well. Strangely, he pointed out that it was always when he hadn't had any tea to drink. He would wake up in that room. He wasn't sure if anyone had moved him there so he could sleep without being in anyone's way, or if he had been sleepwalking again and just stumbled in there by mistake. Mr. Smith explained that the room was originally going to be a large storage closet for various arts and crafts related supplies, but that was never finished due to budget cuts. He wrote in his reply that his aunt didn't want the area to go to waste, so they decided to use it as a means to punish misbehaving children. In his opinion, someone probably bought a dog costume and would wear it while terrorizing any children sent into the room, as a means of instilling the fear of punishment. Oh, you gotta go, Connor. If you're still here, bye. I hope the move goes well. Thanks for popping in. Toast, thank you for the hydrate. It's good to see you. Very much needed, Toast. Thank you. And you all stay hydrated too. I want to make sure you all are drinking just as much water as I am. Good to see you too. Thank you, Toast. I've missed you. Does Dr. Pepper count? No, Dr. Pepper does not count. Also, drink better soda. Dr. Pepper is nasty. I love you all. This has been a PSA from Astral. Thank you, Fern. That's sugar. Oh, this is sad. I do not like Dr. Pepper. I think it's really gross. Tram likes Dr. Pepper, though, so you can talk about how great Dr. Pepper is with her. Hating on your favorite soda like that. I'm sorry. Just the way it is. I don't make the rules. Dr. Pepper's just nasty. All right. You guys get back in your seat so we can continue this story. This is sounding more and more like werewolf stuff going on. There we are. Boop. All right. I sent one last email to Mr. Smith, thanking him for taking the time to reply to my messages. The whole thing about Happy Sun Daycare was starting to come together. From what I had gathered via the various interviews from both students and employees, children who misbehaved were sent to a large empty space called the Grey Door Room. There was a dog, or possibly just someone in a dog costume, that would chase any child sent in there. Finally, said child would be pulled to safety before the dog could cause any serious harm. There was only one last thing to do. I was going to head inside Happy Sun Daycare and investigate the infamous Grey Door Room for myself. I had to see for myself if there was anything that could solve this strange cover-up. Toast, don't want to be your adopted child anymore. Oh my gosh, did you really just "you're not my real mom" me? I think you need to take a few minutes to calm yourself and realize that this soda just is not worth the outburst. Several minutes passed as I drove out into the countryside and towards the abandoned building. I parked the car in the front driveway and took a few deep breaths. The front door was unlocked, which is lucky for me. I gently pushed it open and began to look inside. Fern, careful, you'll get thrown in the gray room. Oh my gosh. I'm not that kind of mother. I would not throw a kid into the gray room. The threat of it, though. No, never mind. We are not threatening to throw kids into the gray room. But I like the idea, Fern. Good thinking. Astral doesn't like Dr. Pepper. Oh my gosh. Is this something that I'm just going to be outnumbered on? Does everyone here like Dr. Pepper? Oh, well, since you said sorry, Toast, you're forgiven. And you can keep drinking your Dr. Pepper. I just wish you would find something a little better. Oh my gosh, I lost my spot. Where was I? Okay, there we are. The interior was dingy and covered in a layer of dust. Cobwebs spread over various desks and chairs that hadn't been used in quite some time. A musty smell filled the house and mixed with the odor of feces and urine from the rats that now made this place their home. It was nauseating, to say the least. After I explored several different areas, I soon found the foreboding gray door that was said to lead to the dreaded room. The door was quite heavy, and it took me several tries before I managed to force it open. Just like how Alice had described, the room was dark and empty, with a dirt floor and a dingy bulb. Said bulb had burned out long ago, so I used an old desk to prop the door open in order to see anything. I could see faint blood stains on the ground and on the wall, but I couldn't tell who or what the blood belonged to. There were strange markings on the wall as well. I took a closer look and could have sworn they resembled claw marks of some sort. As I continued to examine the room, I noticed various footprints in the dirt. Many were faded or had been trampled over one another, but I could still make out a few. Most of them were the footprints of children. They looked like their makers had been running away from something. There was one other distinct set of footsteps that caught my attention. I examined them closely. I could definitely make out the distinctive foot pads, claws, and individual toes on at least one of the prints. This wasn't some person in a cheap costume. Happy Sun Daycare had been using a dog to terrorize children. I had to let people know what they had been hiding for all those years. However, as I made my way out of the daycare and to my car, there was one aspect about those footprints that made me uneasy. Since when do dogs walk on two legs? The end. I feel like they could have gone a lot further into that. Like I do enjoy a reveal ending like that, where it's like a kind of a then who was phone ending. Like I know that's a goofy creepypasta, but it's that style of ending. Um I don't know. I like the idea. I feel like it could have done things a bit differently. I do. I like a bit of the lead up. I think Alice's interview was the best. The girl who had been put into the gray door room. Um, that one had me the most intrigued. But I don't know. What do you guys think? Did you like the story? We've got one more coming. Oh, it actually didn't take that long either. This was kind of a short story. Um, we've got one more called Better Films. So we'll check that one out in just a minute. But first, we'll take a little bit of a break to just give you guys some visual stimulation and just chat a little bit. Derpy, you'll be real. You were washing the dishes the whole time, so you couldn't pay much attention. No worries, Derpy. Like, I always tell you guys, you are free to enjoy this stream in whatever way you want to. If you like to just have this stream on as background noise, if you like to pay attention to the stories, if you like to pop in on the off chance there's going to be a giveaway or something, if you like to pop in just for the fishing, whatever way you like to enjoy this stream, you're welcome to enjoy it your own way. I like giving you guys a place to just relax, be yourselves, do whatever. Fern was okay. You'll be real. You had to leave like midway through, so you missed the interview with Alice. A little bit of an underwhelming ending, I think. I agree with you there, Fern, especially because, like, it seems to, hint at the werewolf stuff. And it seemed very obvious early on. I was honestly thinking that it was gonna be a red herring, like they wanted you to think, oh, this kind of sounds like werewolf stuff, and then I was hoping they would have some like twist ending. And the implication seems to be that that the janitor was the werewolf. But if that was the case, then, like, it sounded like as long as he was drinking the tea, he wasn't changing. And, like, did they just use that room as punishment on the random times that... Oh, but it was when she ran out of leaves, so maybe she just said that she ran out of leaves so that they could use him as punishment. But you'd have to plan it ahead. It'd have to be like, I don't know. It's kind of iffy on that level, for me at least. Like, possible, but I don't know. It seems a little out there with that. Brayden, you pop in for the cat girl that gives you the cat's meow. You're such a dork. I love your puns, though. Derpy, you wish it turned out that there was a giant cheese grater in the cray room. I don't have a response for that, Derpy. But thank you for the comment. It was entertaining. Derpy, so the author thought of a cool idea but didn't think of the logistics needed for... Yeah, that kind of sounds like it. And even the idea, like, you know, it's not really anything super unique, I don't think. Like, that doesn't mean it's not a solid idea. Like, you know, I'm one of the people who, I like cliche things and say that cliches are cliche for a reason. It's because they hit the right level and they become cliche. And so, like, there's definitely something here with this story. And I feel like there could be a part 2 added that really takes the story to a different level. There's a lot of stories, whether it's literature or movies or, you know, any sort of storytelling media, where, like, as an individual medium, or not medium, as an individual part, it's like fine, but then as a series, it becomes something much better. For me, it's things like Paranormal Activity, I think, is a good example. Like, just one individual movie in that series, it kind of ranges. Like, some of them are kind of others are like pretty good. I'm a big fan of the series because as a whole, the lore that it builds up is just so much better than any one individual movie. And I think this story is kind of the same way. I feel like if they had one or two more entries into it, I think they could make it something a lot more special. That's the end of my rant with that. Let's go ahead and jump into our next story. I will take a quick drink first before we get into it, though. All right. So this one is called Better Films, and it is by... I wish they didn't put the author at the very bottom. This one does not seem to have an author. And oh, it looks like this one might have been a pasta of the month at some point as well. But the tags for this one are beings, disappearances, dismemberment, television, and mental illness. So, I don't know. This one, I don't know what we're in for. We'll find out. All right. Get back in your seats, get yourselves cozy, get some water and a snack. Do something to just wind down. That's what today is for. It's the end of Sunday. We need you to relax and be ready for tomorrow. Get back in your seats. All right. Better Films. Author unknown. My brother has always had a dream of being a great filmmaker. For as long as I can remember, it's been his obsession. Oh my gosh, Ghost, I see your hydrate right after I started telling the story. All right, let's get your hydrate taken care of, and then we'll get into the story. It's good to see you, Ghost. Okay. Let's take it from the top. My brother has always had a dream of being a great filmmaker. For as long as I can remember, it's been his obsession. He got a video camera for his 8th birthday and would literally film everything with it, even the most mundane things. He would have us do interviews for the camera, make little movies of himself. I thought it was cute at first. I really did. I would always help him with whatever little project he was doing this time. As time went on, though, something started to change. I can't really say what made him the way he was, but he became increasingly arrogant, increasingly difficult. Our parents definitely spoiled him, spent a small fortune making sure he got the education he needed to pursue his dream of becoming a director, paid for any of the expensive equipment he needed for making and editing his own little movies, helped pay the salaries of any crew or actors he hired for the short films he made. Ghost, telling us to hydrate and not showing by example. You're right. I should hydrate. Ooh, you know what? Somewhere down the road, I should get like a water bottle toggle for this avatar so I can actually drink and hydrate with it. Excessive arrogance. Sounds like he's already a great director. He's halfway there, Derpy. Ghost, that's what you need. You need the excessive arrogance, and then you'll be a truly great director. Someone said Tiggles. Yep, we're talking about Tiggles, Brayden. There we are. Maybe it was that which made him become so arrogant and mean-spirited. But increasingly, he became the worst kind of cliché, the artist, obsessed with their vision and treating everyone in their lives like crap, the self-centered, petulant child in an adult's body. I'd like to say that I called him out on any of this, but the sad fact is that I went right along with him on it. It started in his teens. Verbal abuse and the occasional slap any time that I didn't do something right or quickly enough for his liking. I should have stood up to him, told him to get lost, but I found myself totally under his thumb, unable to say no or simply get him out of my life. To be honest, looking back, I can see just how unhealthy the whole thing was. Now, before you go getting the wrong idea, there was never anything incestuous here. My brother was just a bully, a little tyrant who enjoyed bossing people around, and I basically became his personal servant. He would belittle me and everything I thought, said, or tried to do. Anytime I tried to build myself up, he'd tear me down and make me feel like I couldn't accomplish anything on my own. Couldn't even survive out there without him. I should have known better, I suppose. But it had started from when we were young, so young that, honestly, a part of me came to genuinely believe the things he said. A part of me was too scared of trying to make it out there in the big wide world by myself that I put up with my brother's constant bullying and taunting and increasingly shrill, angry demands because I was afraid of being alone, being cut off from the only family I had left. Our parents had passed away by this point, and we had no contact with the rest of the family. Without my brother, I'd be all by myself. His overbearing presence in my life had prevented me from making any real friends, and the thought of trying to build a life for myself by myself was one that just terrified me. So I did as I was told. Derpy. Whoa, okay. My mind did not go there at all, but alright. Yeah, it seemed kind of sudden to pop that incestuous comment. After some of that other stuff, like, I think it would make more sense, but I definitely think they could have done without that. He would say, "Joan, get me coffee." And I'd drive all the way across town to the one Starbucks he liked to get him coffee. He'd say he needed extras, and I'd devote weeks of my life to arranging and carrying out interviews. He'd demand some expensive piece of equipment, and I'd spend however much it cost to get it. That was my life now. My brother's personal assistant / maid. The subject of my brother's short films and mini documentaries had become increasingly dark and surreal over the years. He would create short, strange, and frightening little pieces designed to unsettle or scare. Or sometimes just ones that were so bizarre, so utterly devoid of plot, logic, or reason, that it was impossible to tell what, if anything, he was trying to achieve or convey with them. His documentaries were much the same. He would either film about gang crime, serial killers, and rapes, or else create disjointed scenes. He once filmed a dog, starving and injured on the street for several hours. Just filming it struggling to move and to breathe. Just filmed the thing's pain. Some nights, when I went down to get a glass of water, I would see him sat there in the lounge in the dark, watching these movies he made, just staring at the screen. And then one day, he told me about what his newest film was to be about. It turned out that he'd begun to hear stories of an urban legend in the film industry. It wasn't something that was widely talked about or acknowledged to the people who did talk about it always seemed to do so with a certain nervousness and paranoia, as if afraid that even mentioning it was dangerous. It was called Better Films. Supposedly, it was a studio or individual who made incredibly strange movies. None of those we talked to who would admit to having watched a Better Films production would go into any detail about what was on the tapes, and the films were only available on VHS from what we could uncover. But all of them seemed incredibly disturbed by what they had seen. One had gone so far as to remove anything from their home that could play video or audio. A guy who ran a small DVD and video store told us that he'd met with some representatives of Better Films just once, a pair of men dressed in red suits. He described them as looking like they'd been, quote, mutilated, and claimed that one had been missing an eye and an ear while another was minus a hand and a nose. The scarring around these wounds looked ugly and raw. They'd given him a business card which had nothing on it except for the logo, a cartoonish, childlike drawing of a frowning face, and the tagline, "Making better films for a better audience," along with the website address where they claimed he could purchase their titles for his store if he wished to help support independent art. Excuse me while I take a quick hydrate. I'm intrigued by this story. I'm a fan of cursed tapes, analog horror type stuff, you know? And this seems to be going in that direction. All right. Where are we? He'd checked it out, expecting some kind of artsy foreign stuff in black and white. He had instead found a site full of strange and confusing clips that left him scratching his head and that provided no clear way to order anything. He said the whole web page appeared to be in Japanese. And yet, a week later, a black bin bag was on the front step of his shop, and inside were several tapes, all with the Better Films logo on their labels. We asked him if he still had the tapes, and my brother in particular was very insistent that we get to watch them. The man refused, and my brother offered him increasingly large sums of money to buy or borrow one of the tapes. Finally, the man just held up a finger to my brother's lips before speaking. "Now you listen to me, and listen good, boy. I've seen your type. I know the look you've got in your eye right now. I get a lot of weirdos in here browsing the adult section asking if I've got anything stronger. I know what you're after. I know what you're thinking. So I'm going to tell you this, and then you're going to leave my store. What's on those tapes ain't no illegal little thrill for some gorehound trying to find himself a real little snuff movie. What's on those tapes isn't anything like what you're imagining. What's on those tapes is worse. And I ain't selling or renting them to no one, especially not some half-wit little pervert with more money than sense." My brother stormed out in a rage, with me following close behind. As I left, the store owner called out to me. I turned to see him looking at me, with an expression of genuine concern on his face now. "You want my advice? Stay away from him, miss. Things he's looking into, you don't want nothing to do with." I suppose I should have taken his advice, but by this point I doubt there was anything that could convince me to abandon my brother. So great was the hold he had over me. And so I continued to assist him as he dug deeper and deeper into the mystery of Better Films. We managed to piece a few things together. The earliest encounter anyone seemed to have with their work seemed to be in the mid-60s. One person we spoke to claimed that he'd known someone who'd been in a movie for them in the mid-70s, a porn star who'd been hired right off the set of a film he'd been doing and had gone missing for almost 7 months. He'd come back with a lot of cash and a hell of a lot of bad dreams. Another said that the company went back even further, that there had been something called Better Productions back before there'd even been silent films. Said her mother had told her stories that she'd heard from her grandmother, who'd heard them from her grandmother. some spooky boogeyman stuff about some performer named Elizabeth Walker. We even found someone who claimed to have grown up watching a TV show Better Films had made. Sunshine Street, she said it had been called. And she went on and on about how strange it had been and how she'd always remembered that logo. It was the first thing that had come to mind when she'd heard the name. She'd said it always used to creep her out. The way the frown would curve into a smile at the end of each episode. The animation looked eerie. That was how she described it. And then my brother came home one day with a woman who he claimed was a producer who worked at Better Films. I was dumbfounded. For all the work we had put into this, I hadn't expected to get anywhere. To be honest, I was pretty much convinced the whole thing was just some ghost story. That if there ever had been a Better Films, there was nothing more to it than some low-budget production company that had made a few creepy little flicks and then folded up. All the weirdness around it, all the little hints and dark suggestions we'd gotten about there being something more sinister about the whole thing, I'd put that down to just people making stuff up. Or, at the very least, people having heard various stories about Better Films from unreliable sources and then passing them along. But here was someone who claimed to work for the company, in the flesh. She introduced herself as Miss Kismet. Her hair was a bright red, almost certainly dyed. I can't believe that any hair could be naturally as bright as hers looked. She dressed in a red suit, and like the men our friend at the video store had described, she looked as though someone had gone out of their way to mutilate her body. One eye was missing, as was an ear and her nose. 3 fingers were missing from her right hand as well. I tried hard not to stare, but all of these looked like they had been done so crudely, so violently, that it made me wince. She and my brother spoke at length for some time. I was not allowed to listen in or take part in whatever they were talking about, but after a while they stepped out of the lounge and my brother asked to speak with me alone for a moment. He told me that he had convinced the woman to let him actually come to the filming of one of the Better Films movies and to meet with the director responsible for their work. To actually interview people who worked at the highest levels of the production company and get the real story about what it is they did. However, to secure this, he'd had to offer the woman a form of, quote, payment, he said. And that payment was her getting to spend a night with me, where I would do anything she wished. I could have slapped him. I wanted to hit him. Instead, I just yelled, told him that this was too much, that I wasn't going to have him selling me like his personal property, like a slave. He shrugged, seeming not to care about my anger, my hurt. It's not like it's that big of a deal. You like women, right? You'll probably enjoy it. And she's promised that you won't be hurt in any way. His tone was cold, emotionless. It was clear that he couldn't care less whether I'd be hurt or not. Couldn't care less what this person he knew nothing about and had only just met wanted to do with me. That he didn't give a damn about my well-being or my safety. That I was just another tool for him to use to make his damn movies. Oh, well, that makes it perfectly okay then. And while you were selling me off to this total stranger, did it occur to you to ask what I thought about it, to ask for my consent, my opinion on whether or not I want to have to spend the night with some woman who, for all we know, makes a hobby out of making snuff movies? He stared at me for a few moments, his expression totally unreadable. And then slowly he spoke. If you don't like it, then of course I can't force you to do it. You can say no. You can refuse. Just like I can refuse to let you continue to live here with me. Just like I can refuse to support you financially. Oh my gosh, I read that wrong. That's the guy still talking. Just like I can refuse to let you continue to live here with me. Just like I can refuse to support you financially anymore. But don't worry. I'm sure there will be plenty of job opportunities out there for ugly, witless, talentless little things who barely made it through high school with no real skills or likable qualities. I'm sure the local burger joint is just desperate for someone to mop their floors and clean out their grease traps. And who knows, maybe after a year or two, you'll be able to afford a place that barely has any roaches or rodents scurrying about in it. It's not like anyone will be able to stand you long enough to come visit. So really, it won't matter what it looks like. You'll be the only one living out your sad, lonely life in it. I felt like I would cry. I wanted to tell him he was so wrong, to go to hell. I wanted to storm out and never see or talk to him again. But part of me kept telling me that he was right, that I was everything he said I was, a loser, an idiot without any skills or good qualities about me, a stupid, pathetic child who wouldn't survive without him. I felt like garbage, like dirt. I felt the way he had always made me feel, for as long as I could remember now. And meekly I just mumbled that I would do it, that I would agree to spending a night with Miss Kismet. Brayden, your PTSD, and oh, I'm sorry, Brayden. Here, let's pause for a second. Just remember that it's just a story. I'm sorry it made you feel that way. And for anyone else who, any of these stories, if they ever get a little too intense or, start triggering some emotions or trauma, you can always, if you want to hear the rest of the story, you can always say to take a pause. Or, you're also always free to dip out if something becomes too much. I certainly won't be offended by that. But I hope you all can enjoy these stories. They're definitely not to dig up any sort of emotions like that. Interesting name. Kismet means fate or destiny. Does it really? That is interesting. I'm sure that was intentional. Ghost, replace Gore with Yuri, and then a guy like that. Oh my gosh. Derpy, even if he's right, you'd still go away after what he said, that regardless of how much worse your living it can be hard to say. Like, we all like to think that, in these situations we would do things differently. And thankfully I've never had to be in a situation like that to test it out. But, these abusive relationships, whether they're, a parent and a child, a sibling, a friend, a partner, any of these abusive relationships, a lot of time goes in to the abuser conditioning the abusee into thinking like they don't have any other choice. They know just the right buttons to push, and it's a terrible state to be in, and it can be hard for people to recognize that they're in it to begin with. And then, once they do, it can still be even harder to break away from that situation. But I hope if any of you ever do find yourselves in situations like that, I hope you do have a support network, or you're able to get yourself away from there. Because, yeah, just to remember that if, even if you think things will just get worse without that abuser, you can make your own way, and it might be hard for a while, but you're strong enough to make your life better without them. So that's our little pause PSA. Um, maybe some of you needed to hear that, maybe none of you did, but either way, I always want you guys to feel comfortable here. So let's go ahead and continue with our story. I'm going to get another drink of water real quick before we do start, though. Get back in your spots. Okay, let me get my water. Derpy, oh yeah, you were thinking if I was in that situation, but didn't think of the lead up to being that. Yeah, that's a lot of stuff. Okay, I'm going to take my drink first and then I'll continue. That's actually something that I think a lot of abused people, they need to contend with, because education around abusive situations is much better than, it has been previously. But there's still a lot of thinking out there, whether malicious or just, uninformed, where people don't always think about everything that goes into being in an abusive situation. A lot of times focus gets put on like the specific instance of abuse, but it often goes far beyond that. So I am glad we got to talk about it, though. Hopefully it helped some of you. Okay, where were we? There we are. I felt like garbage, like dirt. I felt the way he had always made me feel. Oh, I read that part. We met at a motel, a sleazy-looking place on the edge of town. She had sorted out a room for the night and told me to come alone with one of my brother's cameras. I was terrified more and more as I walked to the room she had told me to come to, terrified of what she might do to me, of what could happen. If she killed me, my brother could probably help her hide the body. Sorry. I knocked and heard her familiar voice tell me to enter. The room was pitch black as I stepped in, almost impossible to see. I could make out Miss Kismet sat in a chair beside the bed. There was a knife on the table beside her. I've never felt more scared, more utterly frightened for my life than I did in that moment. Sit on the bed and start filming, she said, my legs shaking. I somehow managed to make myself walk over to it and do as she asked, sitting down and swinging the camera up to film her. I began to ask what she wanted me to do, what she wanted me to film. She just told me to keep the camera rolling and not stop until she instructed me to do so. Nothing else. She whistled loudly, and from the bathroom a dog came limping out. It looked like it hadn't been fed in days, thin and unhealthy looking. As I watched, Miss Kismet picked up the knife from the table and began to slice lines into her hand. My jaw dropped. As I filmed, she cut deeply into her own flesh, blood beginning to pour from the wound. She lowered her hand to within reach of the starving animal and allowed the dog to lap at the blood now trickling from the fresh cut. After a while, she would withdraw her hand and repeat the process, cutting into her hand and then her arm, slicing deep wounds into her skin and letting the dog drink her blood. I felt ill. Worse was the look on her face as she did it. That rictus grin never changed, never left her. She kept that horrible, forced smile on her face no matter how much or how deeply she cut herself, looking like something out of a nightmare. Sat there in the dark, smiling, that awful smile. Finally, she put the knife down and reached into a drawer of the table it had laid upon. She withdrew a pair of scissors and, as I watched, placed the little finger of her right hand in between them. Slowly, she closed the blades around that digit. Do you know what it sounds like? The crunch of bone as a finger is severed by a pair of scissors. I do now. I could feel the vomit rising in my throat as she slowly cut off that finger, the grin still fixed to her face as she cut through flesh and bone. It fell to the floor, the dog pouncing on it, and finally, she told me I could stop filming. I was shaking, feeling ill, feeling worse than I had expected to feel. I didn't know what this was or why she asked me to do this, and I didn't want to know. And then, suddenly, her arm shot out, grabbing me by the leg, her face is inches from mine. The grin had gone now, replaced by a look of pure terror, of the worst kind of fear I had ever seen on another person's face. Her eye darted side to side, her body shook. I could feel the blood from her fresh injuries soaking into my clothes. "Help me!" The words were desperate, spoken as if it actually caused her pain to say them, coming out as a broken, pathetic whimper. "For the love of God, please, she's going to kill us all. Don't you understand? She's going to kill us all. She's..." And then she stopped. Her words cutting off. A little squeak of pain came from her as if someone had grabbed her by the throat. And I realized we weren't alone in that room. Stood in the dark, in one corner of the room, was another woman. She was dressed in a tuxedo, with a featureless white latex mask over her face. There were no eye holes in the mask, and yet, somehow, as she stood there motionless in the dark, I felt that she was looking at us, that she could see us, could see me, that she was studying me intently, watching me very closely indeed. I felt more afraid than ever before. That motionless woman in the white mask stood silently in the blackness, made my heart pound, made the hairs on the back of my neck stand on end. I had to get out of this room. I stood up, turned and ran. I ran out of the room, down the stairs and out into the parking lot. I didn't even bother to get into my car. I just ran out into the street and away from that motel, away from Miss Kismet, away from the woman in the white mask. It was the next day that Miss Kismet showed up at my brother's home. She was all smiles once again and thanked me for my time. My brother had asked no questions about what happened, most likely because he couldn't care less, and he was happy to hear that Miss Kismet would now arrange for him a meeting with their director at the set of the current production they were working on right now. Kismet made it clear, quite clear, that this invitation was for my brother only, which suited him just fine. He told me to stay at the house and work on editing the footage we'd put together so far, and said he'd be back as soon as possible with the interviews with the director and actors involved in Better Film's newest movie. He was beaming, clearly happy that he'd gotten his way, that now he would get to finish his movie with actual footage of what better films did. As much as I hated him, in a way I wanted to tell him not to go. In a way, I was actually scared for him, worried about what might happen. He was a bastard, but he was my brother. But I kept my mouth shut and let him go off with Miss Kismet, waiting for his return. And I waited, and waited. After it had been several hours, I started to worry. When he hadn't returned at the day's end, I called the police. They told me that I had to wait a few days to file a missing persons report and told me not to worry, that most of the time people showed up long before that time had passed. My brother didn't. And so I went to the cops and told them about him and about what he'd been working on and about Miss Kismet. I described her to them and told them about better films, which they reacted to skeptically. Can't say I blame them. I told them about the woman in the white mask, and they looked at me like I was crazy or making it up. Again, I really can't hold that against them. The whole thing was so bizarre and unsettling that I don't know that I would have believed it had someone told me about it. They told me they would look into it and said they would be in touch with any developments in the case. Anything they managed to turn up. They told me not to worry about my brother, that they were certain he would turn up. The longer I waited without news, the less I worried, though. The less I cared about him at all. Finally free of his bullying, his endless taunts and insults, I found myself becoming more confident, more assured. I began to go out. I began to talk to people, to actually start to make friends. I even met a girl at a little bar not far from my brother's house who I began to see as more than friends. I started sorting out job interviews. I started feeling good about myself. Looking in the mirror and not feeling like crap for once. I felt happy, actually happy, for the first time in a long time indeed. I felt like I had worth and value, and that I could make it on my own. A package came a few months ago. It had no stamp, no address, and nothing written on it. Just a brown package left on the doorstep of my brother's place. I opened it up to find a video cassette inside, with a label on it that simply read, "We make documentaries too." I was worried now, nervous and yet curious at the same time. Not wanting to know what was on the tape and needing to know at the same time. I walked over to the television and slid the tape into the old VCR my brother still owned that I had never bothered to throw out since he had gone missing. It began to play. It was footage of us going around to talk to people about better films, footage of us going into the video store where we'd met the man who claimed to have seen some of Better Film's movies. Footage of us going to the homes of those people we'd interviewed about this. Footage of us walking down the street, going to and from places. On several occasions, it zoomed in on my brother, whoever was behind the camera seeming to be focused on him. I stared at it, a chill running through me. How long had they been filming us for? How long had they been following us, watching our every move? How long had they known about us before Miss Kismet had met with my brother? The tape went to static for a few moments, and I thought it was over. I was wrong. Red light spilled out of the screen as the picture returned, bringing with it an agonized chorus of screams and howls of agony. On the screen was my brother. He was suspended by what looked like metal hooks, rusty metal hooks, his body hanging from them in a veritable maze of razor wire. The wire wound around his body, cutting into his flesh, seeming to move like metal snakes. Whoever was manipulating the wire was off screen, but the effects were very clear. He was missing a hand, a leg, and his ears, his mouth open wide. Screams were all around. The source of them was not visible, but I could hear what sounded like dozens of voices all screaming with him, all howling and shrieking in pain. His eyes were wide and terrified, his body jerking and twitching as he screamed the same words over and over again, the same 2 words. Help me! I stood there, staring at the scene for a moment, my brother trapped somewhere in what appeared to be a private hell on Earth, having God knows what else done to him by these people for reasons I would probably never know. I walked over to the set. I turned off the tape. I unplugged the VCR and the TV. And knowing that I would never mention this tape to anyone I knew, I whispered a few words to myself. No, I won't, brother. I burned the tape. To this day, my brother has never been found. The end. Well, that certainly got intense. I liked that one. The beginning, like with with the incestuous bit, I was a little worried about like where it might go, but I liked that one overall, and it was one of the rare sort of horror stories we get on here that we read where it's like a revenge story, but not like it's like a passive revenge. Let me catch up with the chat because I think I missed a few. Hi Shadow, it's good to see you. I hope you're doing well. Are you back home now? Derpy, your sister just accidentally put her Bluetooth headphones and a rock into the oh no. Well, I hope they're okay, but if they're in the dryer, I'm assuming they went through the wash also. Oh, hi world. It's good to see you too if you're still here. Brayden, it was one of the stories of all time. That it was. I can definitely see it not being some people's cup of tea, but I do have a fondness for like anytime someone tells me that a movie or something is like super disturbing, I'm like, okay, yeah, I need to see this, and then I end up being disappointed because it's not as disturbing as I was hoping. So I'm into this kind of stuff, all the torture porn type stuff. What did you guys think of it though? Is this sort of thing your cup of tea, or do you not like this sort of thing? I assume since you're still here, you at least weren't too offended by it. World, you have an avatar you need to show. Oh, okay, you're saying that to Shadow. Yeah, Shadow, I think you'll like an avatar that she was showing me earlier. The rock is fine, by the way. I'm glad the rock made it out okay, Derpy. That's best case scenario. You'll be on soonish, Shadow? Ooh, I'm looking forward to seeing you in VR then. In like 10 minutes when we end stream, I'm gonna go ahead and get some dinner, but I'll be back on, I think, after I eat. You were so worried, world. Well, I'm glad that rock made it through okay. And now it's a nice clean rock. Although, you know, now he doesn't have all the little memories of the dirt from the land he's been in, and I don't know, maybe a kid drew a face on it. How big was the rock? Why did your sister have a rock? Hi, buddy. It's good to see you. I don't remember if I've said hi to you or not. I never know when you're here, buddy, because you just like to lurk and fish. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I just sometimes miss you, because I can't keep up with all the fishing that goes on. You don't have a pet rock? No, I do not have a pet rock. I have, done similar things. I very much used to like taking care of like stuffed animals and action figures and stuff. Like I used to like playing pretend a lot. That was, my favorite thing to do as a kid. I wasn't really into the sports and stuff. So when I was little, it was a lot of, I don't know how to, like everyday life role play. Like, we had some plastic play food, so we would like do a restaurant RP with our friends, or we would just pretend to be pretend to be animals or something, silly kid stuff. But I did like taking care of pretend pets and stuff. That was always a lot of fun for me. Oh, thank you for the hydrate, Ghost. I am getting to the point where I kind of need to pee, but we are close enough to the end that I am not worried about it. It's been a while. It's been a while. Is Buddy hogging all the fish? Oh no. I think I might need to turn off the cooldown on it. What was I gonna say? I don't remember. It was something connected to what I was talking about right before. But let me catch up on the chat. Derpy, when you found it, you reminded your sister that the dryer is in a rock tumbler. It's a pretty big green gemstone. Why did you just call it a rock? It's not a rock. It's a gem. In that case, I really am glad it's okay. I'm glad it didn't get ruined or broken or anything. Derpy, you know of a guy that's making a pet ferrofluid toy? Is that like that stuff that kind of behaves like mercury, like it looks metallic but it's fluid? I'm not sure what ferrofluid is. Oh my gosh. Buddy just completely ignored you, world. Astral, wait 50 seconds before you go pee. What do you mean wait 50 seconds before I go pee? I'm waiting a few minutes. I'm not going to end stream early. Average Catalyst Apex Legends player. I don't know enough to know about about what that means. World, you're hanging out in VR. You'll just beat him up. Uh-oh, I think you're in trouble, buddy. Oh no. Now Ghost got your fish, World. Catalyst uses ferrofluid in-game for a build. Okay, interesting. Oh wait, Catalyst is the one you've told me about that you like the voice actress for, right? Or am I mixed up? Got your hydrate, Shadow. Thank you. But I know what you're doing. You're trying to make me pee. Oh my gosh, poor world. I do think I'm gonna take the cooldown off on it. I originally put the cooldown on because wait, we did it? Thanks for all the support. What happened? That was weird. Nothing happened. Why did it give a why did it give a little notification like that? Anyway. Shadow. Oh, Shadow. You're just not even trying to hide it, you little brat. Derpy, ferrofluid is the stuff that becomes spiky. Oh, okay. Spiky when it's magnetized. He's set up an enclosed toy with a playpen that has programmed magnets to make the fluid act alive. That's pretty cool sounding. I would have wanted that when I was a kid, actually. World, you hit your... Oh, World, thank you. Why didn't it give a notification, though? Yeah, that does make sense, because I think that's where my sub goal was at. But, yeah, I wonder why it didn't notify me, though. I feel like the notifications have been a little iffy. Ooh, a great white shark. A new record, too. Good job, buddy. Okay, you know what? Let's see where the... Oh, what was that? Aw, buddy, thank you. And with your Prime Gaming too. You guys are so sweet. I appreciate you so much. Though, buddy, I'm convinced you just like to come here for the fishing. Not that I have a problem with it. But yeah, I'm curious where you are in the leaderboard. So let's check on that real quick. Let's see, where do we go for it? Oh no, that's the decks. We don't want the decks. We want leaderboards. Oh, buddy, you are catching up. You're in 4th. All right. Oh, Derpy, your treasure chest beat out Slow's blue whale. That's pretty cool. Oh, Derpy, you got 2 in the top 3 catches. Nice. There's a lot of treasure chests. Jeez, Derpy. Why do you have so many treasure chests? And why are they always you? Alright. Let's get out of that. Fish's life. Fair enough, buddy. I need to take you guys. I think I might do it tomorrow. There's a cute little fishing world. We're getting a lot of repeat ones today, though. Like, I've seen a lot of the skateboards and a lot of the trolleys, I feel like. Derpy, you needed them to hold your wealth. Oh my gosh. I can see that. You've got a lot of money. But yeah, I think tomorrow one of the things we'll do, because we're just gonna do miscellaneous VR chat stuff tomorrow. I just want to hang out with you guys and like do some fun stuff. So tomorrow I might take you to this cute little fishing world that we have. We can fish here and in VR chat. Oh my gosh, you guys are going a little crazy with the fishing. Wait, does the number of exclamation marks indicate like the rarity that you're about to get? Because I think every time it's been a legendary, it's been 3 exclamation marks. And I think when it's like the junk items, I think it's only 1 exclamation mark. Oh, hi again, Yuki. It's good to see you. You're just in time for the end of our stream. Oh, Derpy, that is the case with the exclamation marks. I'm sure you guys knew that a long time ago, but I don't pay enough attention to it, so I don't catch on as quickly as you guys. Junk to rare, 1 mark. Oh, okay. So one exclamation mark encompasses a lot of things then. Gosh, you guys still haven't caught any of us. I can't. Oh, here's a little, secret though. Just because you guys are here for this stream, if you want to see what the custom catch art looks like without actually catching them, just head over um, to Wolfu/Fern's art, what's it called? This DeviantArt page. It's linked in the ad board on our Discord server. If you go to his Discord page, he has them posted there so you can see what the art is. If you want to wait till we actually catch them, though, that's pretty fun too. But just, a special little secret since you guys are all here. Everyone who isn't, watching the stream or the VOD, they're just going to have to wait and see, I suppose. Oh, I got a little behind. Ghost, you think you know the world and you really hated the Halloween update? Wait, what are you talking about, Ghost? Did I miss a previous comment? Oh, okay, I see what you're talking about, Ghost. Never mind, you're talking about the fishing world. Yeah, I actually didn't, I wanted to see the Halloween update, but I didn't get to it in time. I was kind of busy, during that point, cause I was finishing up, the Curse 13 and getting ready for Miss Beak to show up, so I hope there's still a toggle to turn it on, but why didn't you like the Halloween update, Ghost? Oh, I just did your hydrate, Ghost. I didn't announce it, but that's what I just did. Derpy, you'd rather wait for the surprise? Yeah, that would be me too. It is beautiful art, though. I love it so much. I hope you guys catch them sooner rather than later. Yuki, you're pissed right now? What's going on, Yuki? Something happened? German guy, first thing you saw when you joined was someone fishing for a thong. Oh my gosh, we have fun here. It's nice to see you again, German guy. Haven't seen you for a while, I don't think. Fern, thank you. Yeah, no worries. Like, you make amazing art. I'm happy to go back to you for, all the channel art I need. But yeah, it wasn't, an underwear thong though, German guy. It was a sandal thong. Oh no, your world broke, Yuki? Do you have a backup or is it fixable? Ghost, you only got candy instead of fish. Candy's good though. Don't you want gross lake water candy? Oh, you got it fixed, Yuki? That's good. I'm glad. Braden, Dr. King, Schultz, Mr. Candy. Normally I would say Auf Wiedersehen, but since what Auf Wiedersehen means is till I see you again, and since I never... Oh my gosh, Brayden, that seems a little rude to say. But yeah, I don't think Brayden meant anything by it, German guy, but oh, quoting Django Unchained. Okay. Yeah, that makes a little more sense. Make sure you clarify. Don't want to scare people away, Brayden. You're not really into sweets in general? I love sweets. I have such a sweet tooth. I love cake and candy and chocolate. Although I like I don't like sweeter chocolate as much as darker chocolate. The darker the chocolate, the more into it I am. Um but yeah, I love I love sweets. Uh oh, Shadow, another hydrate. You're really pushing it, mister. Although I should be getting myself off, but you guys are too distracting. I love hanging out with you. Alright, let's get a drink. Brayden, it's the tism. Fair enough. Just be careful. You're not scared, German guy? That's good. I'm glad. I enjoy seeing y'all, and I haven't gotten to see you for so long, so it's a real treat to see you back here. Oh, Derpy, you recognized the quote? Oh, that's so cute. The little vampire duck. Oh my gosh. Good catch, buddy. I love that. Although, why did they just have the front of him clothed? Like, it was like he's wearing a bib. Why wasn't it should have been like black all the way to the back. What the heck? Shadow, I haven't done some. Oh, I know I haven't gone pee yet. You're just making it worse with the hydrates. But I want to talk to you guys. Yeah, Astral, you ready? Is that what you're saying, Yuki? Ready? Oh, Germans feel no fear, German guy. Oh my gosh. Good. You're gonna be my security if I ever get like, big and famous, okay? I'm hiring you to protect me and feel no fear. But yeah, Shadow, you're being so mean to me. I don't trying to make me pee. I don't want to leave you guys. Unless it's the encirclement of Berlin in 1945 German guy. Toast, you don't care for sweets either? One of your teeth starts to hurt if you have... Okay, that's understandable. Maybe I took your sweet tooth and I have two of them. I'm sorry, Toast. Oh, oh my gosh, no, Derpy, why are you doing that? Brayden, you have 1k chirps saving them for 4 hydrates? Oh my, why are you guys like this? I'm getting low on water though, so like when I run out, I'll probably just end stream. Where was Ready for the World? So I'm already running late, Yuki. So I'll show off the world tomorrow. I don't know if you'll be awake for the stream, but I'll pop in and check it out while I'm doing my miscellaneous VR chat stuff. Derpy should have saved them for Friday. We'll be able... Yeah. So you guys, we're gonna do a mob rule day on Friday. We're gonna play some more Spooky's Jump Scare Mansion, and you'll be able to redeem all of your chirps, your channel points, for coins that you can use to mess with my gameplay. You can send all the different specimens and monsters and stuff at me. I'm really looking forward to it. I was thinking of doing it tomorrow because I wanted to call it Mob Rule Monday. But I really wanted to do just miscellaneous VR chat stuff tomorrow. So we're doing it as Friday Night Frights on Friday. But I'm really looking forward to it. I hope you guys have a lot of fun with it. German guy, one time a streamer had a hydrate, so you redeemed it 140 times. Oh my gosh, you're so mean. That's why I have a limit and a cooldown on mine. Oh no, I'm getting behind. Oh, Ghost, you have a tooth that starts hurting as well for the sweets? I'm sorry. Oh no, German guy, you're too busy to be a bodyguard? Dang it. I'll have to get really big so I can afford to pay you a lot. Oh, you're in the German military? Nice. I hope you, I hope however long you serve, I hope you don't have to be put in any too dangerous settings. I hope you make it through okay. But thank you for, using all your skills to help protect people. Oh, I am getting behind. Oh my gosh. Derpy, that's what you would do if you didn't have a limit. You guys are so mean to me. What the heck? Yuki, what time? It'll be... I don't know what time it is your time. If you go to the Discord server, I have my usual time slots posted there. Or actually, you could just look down below. I don't have the specific content listed, I think, accurately right now in my Twitch schedule, but the times should be accurate, so you can look there to find it in your local time. Where was I? Ghost hydrate. Did I redeem that hydrate? I don't remember. I'm gonna do it again just to be safe. I am not going into debt again. HK is the big gun you use, German guy. I'm not familiar with guns, so you guys can talk about it all you want, but I won't know what's going on. Oh, you use like big guns? Do you do like artillery stuff at all? Derpy, you understand the master plan. Mob rule is also a good way to drain out points so we can't keep hydrating you. You've got me. That honestly is another thing that I hope happens. I appreciate you guys hydrating me, but you get a little too enthusiastic sometimes. But yeah, more so though, like, I know you guys have a lot of channel points and I want to make it worth it for you. And it also adds, a bit more of a perk for subscribers because one of the things the Twitch subscriptions give is that you earn the channel points faster. So I definitely want to make those channel points appealing to you guys. I want to give you a lot of stuff to do with them. Oh my gosh, you guys are chatting so much. I'm still catching up. Oh, you don't use Discord, German guy? Oh, you do use artillery. Nice. How'd you get into that? Was that something you were interested in doing for a long time? Oh my gosh, you guys are saying so many things I don't understand about guns. Derpy, you've been hydrating so much. You're only at 2k points. Oh no. German guy, what, by the way, why do you keep putting your hands? Oh, it's just like my form of ASMR. Um, I like doing a little bit of visual stuff. I hope it doesn't bother you. Some people find it relaxing, and honestly, I enjoy doing it. I think it's fun. But yeah, this is one I really like. I like kind of tapping the edges of the camera. I don't know. It sticks. It works out for me. I like it. Oh my gosh, Derpy, you have 107,000 points on Ryan's channel. Well, I mean, that makes sense because he doesn't do anything to let you guys burn him except for like the occasional, the occasional Twitch fishing. Like, I was actually talking to Ryan about, when I was putting in channel redeems, I was kind of asking him about it or talking about it. And he's like, yeah, one of the reasons I don't have it is because they have way too many points and they'll just like abuse them. Um, where was it? ASMR face tracing, yeah. Where am I? Oh, Astral, have you hung out with any VRC friends IRL who aren't Dram? Yeah, I have actually. Um, I I met World um just when was it? This last weekend, um Saturday before yesterday. And that was a lot of fun. But most of them I have not met IRL. Oh, German guy, thanks for following. I appreciate it. You only joined artillery because... Oh, come on, move. Because you were putting it, and you were too smart to fire a small gun, says one of your drill sergeants. Well, that's quite a compliment. Oh, chat pause due to scroll. Oh no, I thought I was almost done. Okay, I am still pretty close. Gamble 420. You guys and your degenerate numbers. Oh no, you lost your so you'll notice I changed it to coins because having them called chirps was confusing to me and probably you guys as well. So um I wanted to make sure there was the clear differentiation between them. Oh my gosh. No, thank you, Shadow, but no. Do do proper respectable numbers, Shadow. But I think it's about time for me to get off. I do really need to. Oh my gosh, Derpy, no, don't encourage it. Why? Why? Oh my gosh. No. Wait, what? Oh my gosh, no! Stop it! What are you guys doing? Stop being. You're being little brats. I love you though, thank you. Bunch of dorks. I love you guys. But I do think it's time for us to end this stream. Oh my gosh, it keeps. Oh, that was the 20. Okay. Brayden, I think What is wrong with 69? If you don't know, I'm not going to be the one to tell you. Keep that innocence. But otherwise, don't you tease me. You guys just want me to say it. You want me to explain it. The ludity behind it. But Brayden, I think German guy just doesn't want to be like treated particularly differently. So I think he'd rather just have it, be welcomed the same way as everyone else. Need to keep her here for one more hour? No! Okay, I need to say my goodbyes before you guys get up to more mischief. Oh, yeah, I know you didn't mean anything by it, Brayden. You don't know what 69 means? Oh my gosh, Shadow. Okay, German, it's reminiscent, Americans and their weird sense of humor. I thought that was like a universal internet thing, though. German guy, 69 is reminiscent of like the imagery of a particular sexual position. And that's as far as I'll go with that. So people like to use the number 69, and it's customary to, after 69 appears, you say nice. That is that is as much as I'll go into with that. All right, got Shadow's hydrate. Don't forget the Shadow. Oh, you guys are too much. All right, let's end things here. I had a lot of fun today. I hope I see some, if not all of you, tomorrow for our miscellaneous VR chat stuff. You regret asking questions to Americans, German guy. Sorry. You asked, I answered. It's not my fault. Can't believe Twitch let you say that. Oh my gosh, Turpy. Oh, don't you give the shy emo. You guys, you're too much. I can't with you. All right, let's go to the stream and, oh wait, no, not yet. I need to, come back, guys. I need to give you a hug. Goodbye, everyone. All right, now we can go to the stream ending screen. I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your evening or day, I suppose, for some of you if you're far enough away from America. Drink some water, eat some good food, and take care of yourselves and each other. I will see you all later. I'll let you guys, I'll linger here a little bit so you guys can keep, I don't know how long the chat stays active after I end stream, and I want to make sure Brayden and German guy get to take care of whatever contact information they need to exchange. But German guy, if you do get on Discord, I don't know, maybe you just don't have access to that where you are at all. But if you do get on Discord, you can get in touch that way. Oh my gosh, Shadow, you're so mean. All right. Never mind. Well, you can always find each other here as well. All right. That was Shadow's Hydrate, and we are ending it now. Oh, just actual names, like it's what they go by in other places. Okay, but that's it. I'm heading out. I love you all so much. Have a great week. Bye. Oh wait, I'll wait till the fishing is done. Okay, bye for real.